Look at these 3 words written larger than the rest, with a special pride never written before or since. Tall words proudly saying, "We the people."
Hi folks, welcome once again to another episode of Remedial Civics with the Lex Rex Institute, where we pick up where the public education system left off. Since most of us didn't learn constitutional law in school, we're going to make sure that we have a basic knowledge of our Constitution here so we can all be informed citizens and defend those rights so that we have them, our children have them, and our children's children have them.
That's right.
I'm Alexander Humperbush, president of the Lex Rex Institute and a practicing constitutional lawyer.
My name is Alex Bostic. I'm a legal assistant at the Lex Rex Institute.
Thanks for joining us, Alex.
Sure thing, yeah. Okay, I guess today we have the last segment for Andor, at least until the next season.
The Star Wars.
Yeah, the Star Wars.
Star Wars.
The Star Wars, yeah, the Star Wars. Star Wars Andor. So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump to the clip.
Okay.
Okay.
We're not going to do any more Andor after this?
Not until the next season,
that's too bad.
Unless we can we can try to dig through and find something else.
I kind of like doing the pop culture stuff.
Sure.
I think it's, that's where most people learn about legal issues.
That's fair. Yeah. I also like watching Andor, so maybe it sounds like an ad. All right, let's just start.
Trust me, the last thing we want to do is advertise Disney.
That's
but this show is pretty good, genuinely, despite Disney's best efforts to ruin the franchise.
Yeah, okay.
Senator from Chandrila stands with those in opposition to the Emperor's new public safety legislation. Is there a more important issue
Was that the legislation we looked at last time?
than imperial overreach? The Public Order Resentencing Directive is the next step on an all-too predictable march toward complete, unchallenged authority. Our first responsibility is to the citizens who have sent us here. Our second vow is to protect the power and independence of this remarkable chamber.
Wow. That's pretty well stated for a TV show, because that's true. I'm going to kind of compare and contrast with our system of government, I guess.
Yeah.
But for a TV show to recognize that the first responsibility of any representative in government is to their electorate, right?
Yeah.
The people that put them there, because that's the way that they're able to exercise any authority at all, is as a trustee on behalf people who actually exercise authority, which is we the people. So people that elected them and sent them there. And then I like that the point that she makes that her second duty is to maintain the independence of the Senate.
Right.
That's a really good point to make.
Yeah, actually.
And it's a problem that we've seen crop up all too often in American politics too. We've talked about this on past videos. It's a doctrine called separation of powers in our Constitution, which says that the legislative, executive, and judicial branches of government each have their own independent powers. They're not supposed to encroach on the powers of the other.
Right.
But one particular problem or area that this tends to arise is in what's called non-delegation doctrine. Because what happens when one branch of government basically won't exercise its lawful power, when they sit on their hands or turn off their light and walk away during the middle of important speeches, is what happens is somebody else is usually going to pick up what was dropped.
Yeah.
In this case, that's going to be Emperor Palpatine. Yeah. In our case, in the United States, it's been the executive branch all too often.
Yeah. How I've heard it described is that with checks and balances, it's our Constitution is sort of designed to get them to not give away their power, with the implication that people want to keep their power. But when you don't use it, it sort of doesn't actually follow the normal way checks and balances sort of solve the problem.
Yeah, so generally people like power.
Yeah, that's the implication.
And that was, that was one of the basic things that James Madison assumed when he was talking about the idea of separation of powers.
Right.
You see that all throughout the Federalist Papers. Is this system will work because people will want to hang on to their own power.
Yeah.
That doesn't always happen. And the main case we've seen that not happen in our system of government is in the legislative branch, where it turns out that our legislators end up caring a whole heck of a lot more about getting reelected than they do about hanging on to the actual power of their office.
Yeah.
They care more about staying in power than they do about what power that office has.
Yeah.
And what we've seen is a huge ballooning of the federal bureaucracy. Things that are supposed to be congressional powers get pushed to those bureaucracies through the form of regulations, right? So regulations, those are not enactments of Congress. Those are something that are passed by executive agencies under the authority of the president. Should not technically be laws in our system of government because they're not passed with any kind of congressional approval. There was no vote to get that through. Very similar to what's happening here with Palpatine. You might remember that I think it was Moti raised the concern in the original Star Wars, where Tarkin informs them that the Emperor has dissolved the Senate.
Oh, yes.
And that now regional governors have direct control over their territories. Modi says that's impossible. How is the Emperor going to maintain control without the bureaucracy?
Yeah.
Because the bureaucracy was seen to rest on the Senate's authority. The Senate had to create those bureaucracies for them to have power in the first place. But he says, well, it's very simple. We've just gotten rid of that system entirely. Now regional governors have direct control. So we're seeing the immediate precursor to that here with Mon Mothma speaking. And that really is a very real risk that you see when legislatures start handing their power to somebody else. Now, I think the question that you should be considering is this a flaw in the way the framers planned our system of government, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's if they didn't anticipate that people weren't going to hang on to their power, didn't they think it through wrong?
Okay.
Right?
I suppose you could ask that question, yeah.
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 I mean, if you've watched our content before, you know that my answer to that's going to be no.
That's kind of why I'm hesitant, because I'm assuming that you're just anticipating that. Anyway.
Yeah, no, my answer is no. That's the flaw is not in our system of government. You know what the flaw is?
What?
You and me. The flaw is we the people.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because we the people are the ultimate safeguard on our system of government, both at the front end when we vote and at the back end when we defend our rights in court. Now, we the people are supposed to be the jealous guards of our own power.
Right.
That's why it's so important that Mon Mothma first voices in this clip that her first duty is to her constituents, because the people ultimately hold the power. Her duty is not first and foremost to the integrity of the Senate.
Right.
That's second. First and foremost, it's to the people, because the power rests ultimately with them. So, you know, that's not true of the presidency. That's not true of the judiciary. It's not. It's really not even true of what we call the Senate in our system. It's really just true of the House of Representatives.
Well, most directly from the House of... Because
No, it's that's the only one it's true of. That's the only one that represents the people.
Oh, you mean... Yes, that's true.
The senators represent the states.
Yeah.
The president represents the United States. That's why we call him the President of the United States.
The authority and power come from the people directly, though.
Well, the people vote for him.
Yeah.
But who do they actually vote for? They vote for electors who then cast votes for the president. And the president represents the states.
Sure.
Now, because it's the people of the United States, it's still derivative of the people.
Right.
The people hold all power ultimately.
Right.
But it's our voice in government is the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
It's our representative. So if Congress has abdicated its authority, we are the ones who are to blame, because it's actually our authority, our voice in government that has not been heard.
Right. So
don't re-elect people if they do that.
You anticipated my next question.
Yeah, don't re-elect people if they do that.
Right.
That's our failure, and that's, you know, one of the Lex Rex Institute's chief purposes as an organization is to remind people, you know, it's not something that's, I think, all that popular to hear, but to remind people that it's not fundamentally our government that's to blame for government overreach and tyranny. It's not the lawyers, maybe some of the lawyers, but it's not all the lawyers. It's not, you know, it's not the bureaucrats. It's we the people, because we the people hold power in our government, and we the people have the power to rein in government.
Yeah.
Now, is it our fault that we the people haven't been doing that?
No.
No, because we haven't been taught constitutional law for 80 years.
Yeah.
So that's why we're picking up here.
Yeah.
That's the Andor clip. Anything you want to say about the Andor clip in addition to that? Or?
Actually, I want to comment on your last statement, because that's interesting to me that you put it that way, because that's almost exactly how what's his name? Alexander Solzhenitsyn talks about it in his preamble to Gulag Archipelago.
Yeah.
Is he talks it's a section where he's talking about how the KGB, almost called them KKK, the KGB come in and take people away from their apartments, things like that, and he points out, like, do they even have the option if everyone there told them no? In fact, ultimately it comes down to the Russian people are the ones that allowed them to do this to us.
Right.
So in a sense, we're responsible because we allow this tyranny to happen.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's, you know, you bring up a good point there too, because you'll hear people saying the kind of thing that I'm saying. Sure. Usually, well, there's certain groups at least that say it in reference to the Second Amendment.
Right.
They say, you know, when things become too abusive of our rights, we've always got the Second Amendment option.
Right.
We can go and we can defend our rights with guns.
Right.
That's not the only way that we do it.
It's not even the first way. It's not even the best way.
No, it's actually you don't want it to get to that.
No.
I think we're a long way from it getting there right now. I know a lot of people will tell you otherwise.
Right.
look, there's a whole lot of levels of appeal you have to go through before you get there.
Yeah.
We're at level 2 or 3,
Yeah.
and the American people are barely equipped for level 2 or 3. Let's not be jumping all the way to level 100.
Right.
That's that's why we're here. Before you take up arms against anybody, at least hear us out, please.
At least try to sue them first before you.
At least try
shoot
to
them.
sue. Yeah, don't say the courts are so corrupt. Nobody wins in the courts. At least try it. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we win cases every day.
Right.
We win a lot of cases before we even get to court.
Yeah.
That's at least give it a try. And then if it doesn't work, you can say it didn't work. But
Right.
before that, we want to try things the lawful way. That's the way our founding fathers did it. They really waited to even declare independence until there was already a war being waged against them.
Yeah.
And even then, they waited months and months before declaring independence because they wanted to make sure things were done in a way that didn't have bloodshed. So if you want to learn more about our rights and how we defend them, check out these books. You can get any of those with a small donation on our website, lexrex.org/donate. That's all for today. Hopefully you learned something about civics.
Yeah.
If you did, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Still not entirely sure what that means, but my my producer tells me to say that.
Yeah, we don't have to, as long as the people know what that means.
Yeah, if you know what that means, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Maybe you can give us remedial YouTube. That's all for today. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.